Hi guys, my name is Paul Apps and a big warm welcome back to my wildlife art channel. Now normally right now I will be showing you a wildlife subject either in watercolor or in oil or some other media, but today's video is just a little different. Now as an artist from time to time, and I have shown other videos in the past just like this one where I change my colors in my palette periodically. I'm always looking and learning. I am always researching color, and I am always trying to find better ways to create the colors that I need, and that is by looking and bringing in one or two colors and then ejecting them if they don't work out. Now for the longest of times I have had so many Daniel Smith colors on my palette, but I haven't had all of them as Daniel Smith's colors. Now I looked at what I got recently, and my lovely Craig Young palette has had bits glued in it and other pans put in it, because over time I've got more and more greedy with the colors that I've used. So I felt that I'm going to edit those down a little bit, not by much but just a little bit, and I wanted to do this video to show you what colors that I've got now from Daniel Smith's extensive range. Got to say, he's got over 266 colors in the entire range that they offer you as an artist. So I have only got 21 in my palette right now. So there is a vast choice, and really and truly which one you pick, which one you don't pick, is a very, very personal choice. But the way I go about it is I have a core set of colors that rarely if ever changes, and then every so often I look and see what colors are out, and I get my new favorite color and I just work with that, and then that may become part of my core, or it may just get ejected over time or forgotten. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But I suddenly realized that some of my colors in my palette were not all Daniel Smith's colors, and I did have the Daniel Smith versions in my box and I just hadn't used them. So I cleaned out the palette and I've got it all organized, and I wanted to share all that with you today in this video. So without further ado, let's crack on and let's see what I did. Okay everybody, first and foremost, before I go any further, take a look at that lovely palette you're seeing in front of you. It's never been this clean in such a very, very long time, and I'm really quite proud of just having it cleaned up as it is. Now I have reduced a couple of colors, and I have thrown a couple of other colors out that I have been using for a very, very long time, and in favor to using other colors from the Daniel Smith range. Now I'm trialing some of them out for myself for no other reason, and see if I like them, and if I don't like them I can swap them out for something else. Now I did say I've got a few colors from Daniel Smith, and I wasn't kidding. Now some of these are duplicates, and that's because I paint an awful lot in watercolor, as you all know, and some of them are colors that I've bought in the past and I no longer use, or at least they're there if I want to use them again, but right now or currently they're not in my palette. So if you've been following me on my Patreon and you've been following all of my demonstrations in the last few months on wildlife, birds, whatever it might be, then there was a palette over on my Patreon recently created by one of my patrons for everybody to refer to. So I'm going to say a big apology to everybody who is referring to that in future this will be the new palette, and I will put out a new PDF for people to look at and glean information from. But in a way that's why I'm putting this video out, because it's saying to everybody, a lot of people sort of watch my videos, tutorials, they run across to my Patreon, some people join my Patreon, others just download the reference, which is fine, no problem with that. And also my more recent live streams that have been happening on this channel as well. People sort of go over, get all the information, the reference, and get ready. Some people paint along with me, other people just get that reference, look at my colors on the palette, and then they can do their own version later on. So it's to everybody this video is aimed at, but it's also to everybody who nips on over to the Patreon and downloads stuff to paint my or their versions of what I put out as a tutorial. Enough of all of that. This is just me in heaven when I look at these colors, and then I look at a catalog or a swatch of all the many colors that the Daniel Smith company produce. I could just keep buy, but I wouldn't be able to lift the palette that I would have to order in order to put all those colors in. It just can't be done. So I think also that when you are painting, you don't need to have a huge amount. I mean, 20 colors, 18 or 16 colors is by far and away enough colors. Sometimes it can be very, very hard which ones to choose out of all the ones that are on offer. And I think that that can only come from practicing and playing around with different colors over a period of time. It's not something you're going to do overnight. You know, I have colors here, and I have boxes of other manufacturer colors that I've bought over the last 30 odd years of painting watercolors and oils and pastels and any other medium. All my shelves are full of colors. I have so many pastel boxes, it's unbelievable. My tables can barely tolerate the weight. But that's not me sort of bragging about the materials I got. It's quite simply that over a period of time, you learn to evaluate the colors you're using, and you alter them. You bring new ones in. You question the colors that you use. It's just an evolving practice, and there has to be a situation whereby over time you have so many different colors that you've brought in, you no longer use, they're no longer your favorites, and you move on to new colors. So invariably there is sort of baggage that builds up, and I've got drawers full of it, and it's like a sin bin. And you know, someone once said to me that the only waste of an art material is an art material that sits on a shelf or in a box or somewhere hidden away. And I have got a shameful side to everything, in as much as I've got lots of colors like that. But that's not this is not what this video is about. This is to tell you that yes, I've got lots of Daniel Smith colors, and I didn't realize that until recently how many I had and how many of those actually are already in my palette. So when it comes to making the decision to literally just go completely onto Daniel Smith colors, I didn't actually have to change much at all. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about, and that's what I want to show you. I'm going to do a quick swatch of the 21 colors, and so you can see them in action. And that will probably be it for this video, because I don't want to labor the point. I just wanted to show you what I'd done, and so that if you do follow along to any of my sort of workshops, tutorials in the future, you will at least know what you're painting in. So I'm just going to quickly run through these ones. This one here is sepia, then it's burnt umber, then it's Indian red, followed by burnt sienna, raw sienna, then quinacridone magenta, then organic vermilion, and then a new one for me, because I was using the Pyrrole, forget the full name of it, but the Pyrrole orange that Daniel Smith does. And I really have always loved this Aussie red gold. Now, I've never really used it in my work, and it's slightly yellower and more earthy than the Pyrrole orange, but I love it, and I've never really had room to put it in my palette, so I cleared out the old color and I poured in some Aussie red gold, and we're going to put it through its paces. If I love it, it will stay. If I don't love it, I can always change it. It's not a big deal, but I wanted to play with that. This is Indian yellow. I love that color. It's a very rich, vibrant, warm yellow. And this one is well, it's actually an Aureolin, but it's a mix of different makes. I'm not quite sure where that all come from, and so I'm waiting to replace that very shortly with a lemon yellow or something similar, New Gamboge maybe, something like that, or I may just leave it there, I don't know. Then I've got Phthalo or Phthalo green. Now that is a very aggressive green in many respects. It's a very staining colour, and it really is a lovely colour, but never or rarely on its own. It needs a companion to keep it in check. It needs a red or a blue or an orange or something else to shift it off its colour base, so it's not naturally the pure aggressive green that it can be. And the point about that is that, in all truth, on its own, to me, it's quite an artificial green. Now, I'm sure there are certain circumstances, if you're painting man-made objects, that you might want to have that green. It's a very cool green, very blue green, but it is a lovely colour. This is neutral tint, which is a blue shade neutral tint. It's a really lovely colour. It's a great colour for some shadow colours, and it makes a great deep shadow colour for clouds as well, so worth bearing that one in mind. The cousin to this one, which is Phthalocyanin blue, very, very strong blue. If you didn't like that one, you could always buy something like a cerulean blue if you wanted to, but it is, as a pigment goes, it's slightly cheaper to buy than cerulean blue, which has become very, very expensive over the last 10-20 years. But it's also a transparent blue, so it makes some really energetic black colors when you need them. So you can mix two transparent colors together and you can get a really dark aggressive black when you want it. Cobalt blue, I never go anywhere without my cobalt blue. It, along with neutral tint and probably burnt umber and the sepias, or the siennas, form part of my core, my basic block of colors that I would never change. And ultramarine blue is the other blue that I would consider as one of my fundamental core colors. And then indigo. Now indigo to me is a little bluer than Payne's grey. I may well be buying some Payne's grey from Daniel Smith. I quite like that color, and I have got rid of it for the time being because I was trying to simplify what I am using. So that's that. Now this color in here, this little color in here, is Daniel Smith's Ultramarine Violet, and it is somewhat more violety than many other colors that you find from other manufacturers with that same color label. I quite like it. I put it in there to see how I get on with it again. I had the tube a long time ago. I used it a bit and then stopped. Now I've gone back to it, and it is a little bit like a dioxazine purple, although it's a little bluer than that one. Dioxazine tends to be a little more on the warm redder side. So I'm going to see how I get on with that, and it should make some wonderful cast shadow colors, especially if you temp it down with some of the others are available. Now here I've got yellow ochre. It should have been in line with these, to be fair, but I wasn't going to dig all this out just to put a color in place, and it's a simple trip down to there. So yellow ochre again is quite a core color, and it's a very traditional color, and it's one that yeah, I wouldn't be without. I have been without it in the past, but I quite like it there. Now this one, well, this is one that's called quinacridone sienna. Now it's like burnt sienna on steroids. I gotta say, it is absolutely an amazing, electrifying, vibrant red color, and I bought it a little while ago, and well, about 2 years ago now, I think, and I've never really used it in anger in any of my work, and I keep looking at it, and I swatched it the other day and I thought, I really like you. So I felt that I was gonna make space for it, at least on trial, and see how I get on with it, because, you know, in a sense you can play around with some of these colors in here and arrive something like it, but I love the idea of this one. It's a very rich, as I said, it's sienna on steroids. It's just electrifying. So it's a great color if you want vibrancy, and it's a great all-round color. I'm sure it will prove itself and probably want to stay in the pack for a long time to come. Now, last but not and by no means least, these two colors here. Now, this is Daniel Smith's Lavender. Now, lavender to me, I came across about a year or two back, and I saw it being used, and I thought, oh my, I've got to get me some of that stuff. So I ordered one tube, and that went in a heartbeat. And so I ordered several tubes. Now I've got to reorder again. I've got about that much left of the tube. I go through so much of this paint. It is so... It's just so useful in so many different ways. It can be mixed with warm colors and make some delicious distant grays. It can do tints. It can do cast shadow. It can do so many things in complement to other colors as well. So since I found it, it's been one of two of my all-time favorite colors from Daniel Smith's range. And although I do know other manufacturers make a similar color, I really love this one. It's gutsy, slightly on the opaque side, of course, but it is a beautiful color. And I would say that if you've got a core set, but you don't have that one, I think you should get it on your shopping list and go and buy yourself a tube. You will not regret it. Now, this one is the last one in the list, and no different to this one. I found this color 2 or 3 years ago, I think. And yeah, who doesn't like cobalt teal, cobalt turquoise? Now, there are a lot of turquoises, I think, in Daniel Smith's range. I've got one I tried a few years ago called Sleeping Beauty. But this one, when I found this one, cobalt teal blue, I used the similar pigment in my pastels, well, a range of them, but I also have a similar color in my oil colors from Blue Ridge Oils in America, and they have a version in oils which is absolutely to die for. But this color from Daniel Smith, honestly, it is an amazing blue color. But you can mix it like you can with the lavender. You can mix it with some of your yellows, some of your warm yellows, your cool yellows, even things like the Aussie Gold will mix with it and create some really interesting, very, very useful green colors, spring colors, lively green colors, colors of trees and foliage with sunlight, all of those things. That color is absolutely amazing. So I'm sorry if I sound like an absolute advert for Daniel Smith, but the video is in part to show you my new palette, but it's also in part to say that this is entirely a Daniel Smith palette now, and that probably will not change. I just love the colors, and so if I do sound a little bit like I'm a salesman, I apologize, but I am very, very enthusiastic about the color, what I'm using, and how the changes will now affect my paintings in the future. How they work out, I don't know yet, but I mean, I've been using these for years, but some of these are very, very new to my palette, so I'm going to see how they get on over the next few months. And what I'm going to do now, just to finish off very, very quickly, if you'll indulge me a little further, and that is I'm going to quite simply swatch them. So I'm working upside down, aren't I? I just realized. Let me change that around then, shall we? Let's just rethink this. There we go. That's where you normally see my color on the side there. So I'm going to grab a brush very quickly as well. I'll be back in a moment. I'm back. I've been so excited about playing around with the colors and doing cleanups and changing things. I'm absolutely covered in pigment and stained my fingers and hands, and completely forgot to get the brushes out to do this with. So let's get a couple of brushes up, or one, that's all I really need. And as always, it's a Rosemary and Company brush, and all I'm going to quite simply do is pop in. Some of this is very fresh color. Now this one is my neutral, my sepia, and what a rich, dark, earthy, cool brown. I call it a cool brown because if you were to put that one next to the next one, which is burnt umber, just see what I mean. See, that is quite a warm, hot brown. Now, burnt umber is literally as umber is the burned version, and when you burn the material, then it goes redder. Like that. It's the same with the siennas as well. Now, if you had a raw umber, it will be quite yellow, as you get the same difference between burnt and raw sienna. So let's come down to the next color, and that is our lovely Indian red. I keep swishing out so I can just take that down to a little bit of a flow so you get to see it in transition. And then very, very quickly, I'm trying to move this fast. I don't want this video to be too long. We're going to come in with our burnt sienna. You can see how warm that is. Just let that play off like that and get a flow. Very quickly, moving on, we're going to come in with our raw sienna. Pick some of that color up, clean the brush through, and just drop that down. Let's just put a little bit more color on top so it looks a bit gutsy. There you go. And moving on swiftly, we're coming to our quinacridone magenta. Lovely rich red. Look at that. Okay, love that color. All right, so moving swiftly on, we're going to come into the organic vermilion, a lovely rich red, and you can cool this down if you want to, and you can warm it up if you want to. There's lots of options, but it is a wonderful color. And then wait for it. Here we go. Aussie red gold. Aussie red gold. Sorry, bear with me. It's my age. Let's go for it. Aussie red gold. Look at that. My heavens, look how rich that is. Wow. That is just, yeah, I don't know how to describe that. That is just amazing. What a wonderful color that is. So that has definitely got a place for the foreseeable future in my palette. Now I'm going to come in with some Indian yellow. This is, hopefully it's not too tainted with the Aussie red gold. It may be, forgive me if it is. But let's get a little bit of water on that, make that flow. Look how warm that yellow really is. Okay. Now, this color next is, as I said before, it's not pure. It is an aureolin, but I will be changing this one for one of Daniel's lemon yellow. The lemon yellow is a cool yellow, and that's great, and that's really what aureolin is. But it's lemon, cadmium lemon normally is an opaque color. So when you want a real strong yellow with green, then the lemon yellow, cadmium lemon yellow will be a good one to use. So at the moment I've got this one, and it will change very, very shortly. And into the real nest of vipers now for green. Look at that. This is our phthalo green. You see what I mean about it being quite an artificial looking green? On its own, it is very much an animal, and it doesn't take prisoners. It really is. Put a little bit of color up into the top there to let that flow. It is an animal, and it's not one that you would let it, you know, this is like a fierce animal on a leash. You wouldn't let it off the leash, not without it being chaperoned. All right, moving on then, we're coming into the lovely neutral tint color. Look at that. It's a lovely blue, cool color, but it is cooler than and less blue in a way, or obvious blue, than some of the indigo color. It's a lovely cool grey. Now if you wanted to have a red shade, you've only got to put a little bit of something else with that, and you bring it out of that coolness and put it into a warm and a better environment in that regard. Now we're going to come in with some of that brother to this one. Look at this for a blue. It's a very, very electric color. People use it in beautiful sea colors, lower parts of skies, winter skies even. It's a lovely blue to work on. So that's that one. And then I am going to come in with some of my no, I missed one. That's not good. All right, let's come back out of that. Ought to be changing my water. I tell my students off for that a lot. But let's come in with some beautiful cobalt blue. Wonderful color. I would never be without it. And I love that color. All right, let's move swiftly into our ultramarine blue. Again, it's another stalwart. You never go anywhere without it. Don't leave home without without this in your bag, as it were. So it's a great color to work with. Now for the indigo, a very dark, somber blue. Now you could also use, if you wanted more yellow blue, this is quite a yellowish blue, but if you wanted an even more yellowish blue, then I would suggest go for Prussian blue. I've never been a big fan personally of Prussian blue. I have had it in the past. I used to paint in oils with it. For some reason over the years it's become lost to me, but maybe, you never know, I might sort of buy a tube and play around with it and see how I feel again. Might be a lovely reunion, who knows, but we'll see. Now for the change of pace, this is the lovely I'll put some on the brush, would be good. This is the ultramarine violet color. Now it does look more purple than I have been in the past, used to, but I love that color. It's a great one, and I think it will make some beautiful cast shadow effects at some point. Whether I keep it in the palette, I don't know. I may change it for something else later, but right now it looks nice and I'm really happy to play around with that. So for the last four then, this one's going to blow your mind as well. You thought that was strong, you get a little bit of this one. Wow, I don't need too much of this paint. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? That is so full on, full of energy, full of life, full of light. That is a wonderful color, and I'm going to enjoy painting with that and the Aussie red gold in future. This is a slightly redder version. When they dry a little, just a little tad duller, but when you compare this one to this one, I mean, they're both siennas essentially, but this one is just on steroids, as I said earlier. It's an amazing color. All right, now then, let's just tone it right down. Why not? We've got excited and got our blood boiling over this one. Let's just turn it down with some yellow ochre, just in one of the last conclusions. All right. Save the best to last. Now then, some lovely lavender. Look at that color. How can you not fall in love with that color? That is so beautiful. And then the other final color that you can't help but fall in love with is cobalt teal blue. Look at it. Well, there you go. Wonderful colors, a wonderful new palette that I am going to be working with in the future, and I hope that you'll join me for many more watercolor demonstrations using this palette. And if you're interested in seeing a lot more, then why not pop on over to my Patreon and check out that whole raft of watercolors there in my back catalogue if you want to get involved with that, or if you want to see all my wildlife stuff, whether it's oils, watercolors, they are there as well to enjoy. And from this point on, I will be using this palette. I will probably change this one to a lemon yellow, as I've already said, And it may be that my palette changes again in a year. Who knows? I don't know. This is what for me, being an artist is about. It's not just about painting pictures. It's about understanding the medium and the colors and the ways the brushes work, the ways that inks work, the ways that oil paints work. It doesn't matter what you work in. It's understanding and learning. It's always evolving. It's always changing. And as an artist, you owe it to yourself to move with the times in a sense and understand and learn more about what you're up to. And that includes color. And I'm a big sucker for some of these. I love them. And although many of them I've used for many years, and certain cases I've used them for over 30 years painting watercolors. And I hate to think how many years I've been painting in oils with similar colors. But at the end of it all, it's all about a decision that you personally have to make as artists, whether you're just starting out in watercolor or whether indeed you've been painting in watercolor for donkey's years. Doesn't matter. The color choices that you make are your own personal choices. You could go out and buy a pan set that will hold, well, I'm not seeing one. You could probably find one that holds 100, 200 colors. But then you would need a special car to move it around and a very extra sized table to sit it on. You don't need that many colors. So the colors you choose are your own personal choices. But what I would also say is that if you are just starting out, and to buy cheaper colors because they cost pennies instead of pounds is really a false economy. I've been teaching other people to paint for 25, 28 years or more, and my not mantra, but everything that I've told my students from the day one till now, and I still say, is that you buy the best quality paper, the best quality brushes, and certainly where color is concerned, the best quality color, because the pigments in them are so much better, the bulking and rubbish in them is so much less, and they last so much longer. I mean, you often I bought some for my granddaughter about a year ago, and the colors I needed to almost grind them into them to get any pigment out of them, and they were full of rubbish. And so yes, that's an extreme case, but what I'm trying to say is that even if you're just starting out, it's best to buy a few core colors and learning to mix color and understanding how color works and enjoying good quality. And then as you get better, you can expand that range of colors but still stay with good quality. It will pay dividends. You'll never regret that decision. So before I carry on preaching, I'm just going to stop here. I have enjoyed this little indulgence with you guys, and if you are, as I say, going over to Patreon and you're using any of my references in the future, look out for this video because you can refer back to it. You can see the colors I'm using. There will be a new PDF over on my Patreon that you can download and keep to use if you would like that. It will be helpful to you. And yeah, I love to see you all in my next video, whether it's on as a Patreon or whether it's on my YouTube, wherever it may be. I'll catch you all very soon. And don't forget, there are also courses over on my website. There is a watercolor course on learning how to paint skies, and there is also a course on ink and wash. So if you want to check them out, the details are on my website, and I'll put the details and links in the show more tab underneath this video. Until next time, guys, enjoy your painting, have fun, stay safe wherever you are. Catch you all soon. Bye bye. Okay, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water and relax, there is my palette I've been showing you. But also I wanted to show you this one. This is my going outside palette. Should there be such a thing as a going outside palette? But whatever, that's the one I tend to use in the studio. This one is another one that is exactly the same colors as this one. So whenever you see me do a video on my mobile channel, Paul's Mobile Studio with Clarabelle, and it's a watercolor, this will be the palette that I'll be using. So if you've already got colors that are similar, you know that you can work with my wildlife channel, or you can work on my mobile channel, and you can get the same colors going. So I just wanted to pop that in. Now it is a real goodbye. Thanks for watching. Catch you all very, very soon. Cheerio.